The sun rose bright over London on this special day. People stood in long lines on the streets, waiting to see the royal couple. Inside the big palace with tall walls, Kate and William got ready for their big moment. Kate stood in her beautiful room, looking at her dress. It was an ivory white gown that took many people months to make. Small flowers and symbols were sewn all over it. Each tiny stitch told a story about the many countries that looked to them as leaders. "Does it look right?" Kate asked her helper, turning slowly to check every part of the dress in the mirror. The helper nodded with a smile. Everything was perfect. Across the hall, William put on his dark blue uniform. His hand shook a little as he pinned the shiny medals to his chest. These medals were not just for show. Each one stood for something he had done for his country. He took a deep breath and looked at himself in the mirror. Today, he would stand before his people, not just as a prince, but as their future king. When Kate walked into William's room, both stopped and looked at each other. William's eyes widened at how beautiful Kate looked. Her dress sparkled in the morning light coming through the tall windows. "You look ready to lead a nation," Kate said to William with a warm smile. William reached for her hand. "We are ready to lead it together," he replied. Their clothes were not chosen by chance. Every color, every pattern, and every jewel had been picked with care. Kate's dress showed flowers from all parts of Britain. The small crown she would wear later had pearls that matched the buttons on William's uniform. When people saw them, they would see two people who stood as one. "The carriage is ready, Your Highnesses," said a man at the door. Kate looked at William one last time and fixed his collar. This small act showed how they always took care of each other. William straightened his back, standing tall and strong. Together, they walked down the long hall with its red carpet. Outside, the sound of people cheering grew louder. Guards in bright red coats stood at attention as Kate and William appeared at the palace doors. The golden carriage waited for them, pulled by 4 white horses. "Ready?" William asked, taking Kate's hand to help her into the carriage. "With you? Always," she answered. As they sat in the carriage, Kate smoothed her dress one more time. William adjusted the sword at his side. They both knew that every eye would be on them today. How they looked, how they acted, everything would be seen and talked about around the world. The carriage began to move slowly. Through the windows, they could see thousands of people waving flags and taking pictures. Children sat on their parents' shoulders to get a better view. "Wave," William said with a smile. Together, they raised their hands to greet the crowds. Inside, they might have felt nervous, but outside, they showed only calm and joy. Their faces showed strength. Their clothes showed unity. Their smiles showed hope for the future. The carriage rolled down the street toward the big church where the ceremony would happen. Kate and William knew that this was just the beginning of a very important day. But already, without saying many words, their appearance told the world what kind of leaders they would be: united, strong, and ready for the path ahead. The golden carriage moved slowly through the streets of London. Inside, Kate held William's hand tight. This small act gave them both strength. The sound of people cheering filled the air. Flags waved in the wind as far as they could see. "Look at all these people," Kate said softly, her eyes wide with wonder at the huge crowds. William nodded. "They came to be part of history with us." Kate's dress shimmered in the light that came through the carriage windows. The tiny diamonds sewn into the fabric looked like stars. Her pearl crown sat ready in a velvet box. She would put it on when they got to the church. William sat tall in his uniform. The gold buttons and blue fabric showed his royal rank. His face was calm, but his heart beat fast. He knew this day would change their lives forever. The carriage passed by famous London sights. Big Ben stood tall against the blue sky. The River Thames sparkled in the sun. People lined every street and bridge. Some had camped out all night just to get a good spot to see the royal couple. "Your dress looks perfect," William said to Kate. "The blue thread matches my uniform exactly." This was no accident. Their clothes had been planned for months. Fashion experts had worked hard to make sure every color and style sent the right message. The matching blues stood for trust and loyalty. The white of Kate's dress showed purity and new beginnings. Outside, people took thousands of pictures as the carriage passed by. News teams from around the world talked about what Kate and William were wearing. One reporter said, "Their outfits speak of unity. They look like true partners ready to lead." As they got closer to Westminster Abbey, Kate took a deep breath. The old church had seen many royal events over hundreds of years. Kings and queens had walked through its doors for centuries. Now it was their turn. "We will be fine," William said, seeing her nervousness. "Just remember what we practiced." The carriage slowed down as it reached the church. Guards in bright red uniforms lined the path. Their gold buttons shined in the sun. Music played as the carriage door opened. William stepped out first. He stood straight and proud. Then he turned and helped Kate step down. Her dress flowed around her like a cloud. People gasped at how beautiful she looked. Together, they walked toward the church doors. Their steps were slow and matched perfectly. They had practiced this walk many times. It needed to look dignified and strong. At the church door, they paused. This was the moment many people had been waiting for. Kate's dress spread out behind her like a white river. William's medals caught the light and sparkled. An old man in fancy robes met them at the door. He was the archbishop who would lead the ceremony. He bowed his head to them. "Your Royal Highnesses, we welcome you on this historic day." William and Kate bowed back. Then, with steady steps, they walked into the church. Inside, hundreds of important people from around the world waited. Kings, queens, presidents, and prime ministers stood as the couple entered. The church was filled with flowers and candles. The light from tall windows made colorful patterns on the stone floor. Kate's dress seemed to glow as she walked down the long aisle. William walked beside her, never leaving her side. Their journey from the palace to the church was now complete. But the most important part of the day was just beginning. As they moved toward the front of the church, Kate and William knew all eyes were on them. Their clothes, their walk, their faces all told the same story. They were ready to serve their country, together as one. The inside of Westminster Abbey took Kate's breath away. The high ceiling seemed to reach to heaven. Sunlight came through colored glass windows, making patterns on the stone floor. The air smelled of flowers and old wood. Hundreds of important people stood as Kate and William walked down the long aisle. Kate's dress made a soft sound as it moved across the floor. The small diamonds on it caught the light and sparkled like stars. William walked beside her, his back straight and his head high. "They look like they were born for this moment," whispered one guest to another. And they did. Kate's white dress with blue details matched William's uniform perfectly. This was planned to show they were a team. The blue in both their outfits was the same color as the royal flag. Their clothes told a story without words, a story of unity and royal strength. At the front of the church, the archbishop waited for them. He wore special robes that had been used in royal events for hundreds of years. His white beard and kind eyes made him look wise. "Your Royal Highnesses," he said with a bow, "we welcome you on this most sacred day." Kate and William bowed their heads in return. Then they took their places in two grand chairs. These chairs had held kings and queens before them. Now it was their turn to sit there. The music grew louder as the ceremony began. Kate looked at the people around them. Leaders from all over the world had come to see this moment. Some wore suits, others wore their own royal clothes from their countries. All eyes were on Kate and William. William reached over and touched Kate's hand for a quick moment. This small gesture showed their bond. It was not in the plan, but it was real. People who saw it smiled. This was not just about fancy clothes and old traditions. It was about two people who faced this big day together. The archbishop began to speak words that had been used for hundreds of years. His voice filled the big church. Kate and William had learned these words by heart. They knew when to stand, when to sit, and when to speak. A helper came forward with a small box. Inside was Kate's crown. It was not as big as the main royal crown, but it was beautiful. Small pearls and diamonds were set in a pattern that matched the design on her dress. "This is so much more than just fashion," said one fashion expert who watched on TV. "Every detail of what they wear has meaning." The Archbishop placed the crown on Kate's head. It fit perfectly, as if made just for her. The pearls in it matched the buttons on William's uniform. Again, this was planned to show they were one team. Next, William received his special sword. The handle had blue stones that matched Kate's crown. As he stood with the sword, Kate stood beside him. They faced the crowd together. The sun chose that moment to come through the biggest window. It made Kate's white dress glow, and William's medals shine. People later said it looked like the sun itself blessed them. The Archbishop raised his hands. "I present to you their Royal Highnesses, blessed and ready to serve." Everyone in the church stood. The music grew so loud it seemed to make the old walls shake. Kate and William stood side by side, their clothes and crowns making them look like figures from a storybook. But the small smile they shared showed they were real people too. The first part of the ceremony was complete, but there was more to come. As they prepared for the next part, Kate fixed a small fold in William's sash. William adjusted Kate's crown when it slipped a tiny bit. These small acts showed the truth behind their fancy clothes. They took care of each other. The second part of the ceremony began with deep silence. The music stopped. The crowd of guests became still. This was the moment for sacred vows, promises that would bind Kate and William to their country and people. The Archbishop opened a very old book. Its pages were yellow with age. Kings and queens for hundreds of years had made these same promises while looking at this book. "Your Royal Highnesses," said the Archbishop in a voice that reached every corner of the big church, "are you ready to make your vows before God and these witnesses?" Kate and William stood together. Their shoulders touched, showing they faced this moment as one. "We are," they said in clear voices that showed no fear. William spoke first. His voice was strong and sure. He promised to serve the people, to be fair to all, and to protect the kingdom. As he spoke, his hand rested on the special sword. The blue stones in the handle matched the blue thread in Kate's dress. This was another way their clothes showed they were united. Next came Kate's turn. She stepped forward, her dress moving like water around her feet. The small crown on her head caught the light from the high windows. She made the same promises as William. Her voice was soft, but everyone could hear the strength in it. "They are not just dressed as royals," said one old lord to his neighbor. "They truly look like leaders." And they did. William's uniform showed his years of service to the country. The medals on his chest told stories of duty and honor. Kate's dress, with its careful designs that matched William's clothes, showed she was his equal partner. After the vows came a special moment. The Archbishop brought out 2 rings on a silk pillow. These were not the wedding rings Kate and William already wore. These were special bands that showed their new duties. William put the ring on Kate's right hand. It had small blue stones that matched her crown and his sword. Then Kate put a similar ring on William's hand. Their fingers touched longer than they needed to. This small moment of connection was seen by everyone. A choir of children began to sing. Their young voices filled the church with beautiful music. As they sang, Kate and William signed their names in a big book. This book held the signatures of every royal person who had stood in that same spot. "Look at how their outfits complement each other even as they bend to sign," said one fashion expert who watched on TV. "The blue in his sash falls right next to the blue in her sleeve. Nothing is by chance." The Archbishop then asked them to kneel on special cushions. These cushions had been made just for this day. They were blue with white designs that matched Kate and William's clothes. With both of them kneeling, the Archbishop placed his hands on their heads. He said words of blessing that had been used for many centuries. As he spoke, a beam of sunlight came through the window and fell on Kate and William. People would later say it looked like a spotlight from heaven. Then came the most moving part. William stood first, then turned and helped Kate to her feet. As she rose, he whispered something that made her smile. No one heard what he said, but everyone saw the love in that moment. The Archbishop raised his voice again. "Rise and face your people." Kate and William turned to face the crowd. Side by side they stood, their clothes matching perfectly, their faces showing the same mix of joy and seriousness. The guests broke into soft clapping that grew louder and louder. A group of trumpet players began to play. The music was bright and happy. It matched the mood of hope that filled the room. Kate and William stood still, taking in the moment. Their hands found each other again, fingers linked in a way that told everyone they were in this together. The fourth part of the long ceremony was complete, yet their day was far from over. Soon they would walk back down the aisle and out into the bright day where thousands more people waited to see them. The big wooden doors of Westminster Abbey opened wide. Bright sunlight poured in, making Kate's white dress shine even more. The trumpets played a happy tune as Kate and William prepared to leave the church and meet the waiting crowds. William offered his arm to Kate. She placed her hand on it, her new royal ring catching the light. They paused for just a moment at the top of the steps. They knew that once they stepped outside, thousands of cameras would capture every detail of how they looked. "Ready for the next part?" William asked softly. Kate nodded, her small crown still perfect on her head. "Together," she said. With steady steps, they began to walk down the long aisle toward the open doors. Their walk was slow and dignified. The guests stood as they passed. Many smiled at how perfect Kate and William looked together. "Their clothes tell a story," said one fashion writer later. "His uniform and her dress speak the same language. They say this is a couple who stands as one." Outside, the cheers of the crowd grew louder as Kate and William appeared in the doorway. The sun was high now, making a perfect day. Kate's dress seemed to glow in the bright light. William's medals shined like stars on his chest. They stood at the top of the stone steps. Below them, a sea of people waved flags and took pictures. News teams from all over the world pointed their cameras at the royal couple. This was the moment that would be on front pages of newspapers everywhere tomorrow. Kate and William raised their hands to wave. They did this at the same time, as if they had practiced it. Even this small act showed how they worked as one team. Their royal guards lined up on both sides of the steps. The men wore bright red coats and tall black hats. They stood straight and proud as Kate and William began to walk down to the waiting carriage. This carriage was even more beautiful than the one they had arrived in. It was painted gold and had the royal symbols on the doors. 4 white horses waited to pull it through the streets of London. As they walked down the steps, William whispered something that made Kate smile. A photographer caught this moment. It would become one of the most famous pictures of the day. In the photo, their matching blue details could be clearly seen. His sash, her crown, the small blue flowers on her dress. "What a sight they make," said an old woman in the crowd, like something from a storybook. At the bottom of the steps, the royal guards saluted. William returned their salute while Kate gave a small nod. Then William helped Kate step into the golden carriage. Her dress flowed around her like a cloud as she took her seat. The inside of the carriage was lined with blue velvet that matched the blue in their clothes. This was planned months ago. Every small detail of their appearance had been carefully thought about. William sat beside Kate in the carriage. Through the windows, they could see the happy faces of the crowd. Children sat on their parents' shoulders to get a better view. Old people wiped tears from their eyes at the beautiful sight. As the carriage began to move, Kate reached for William's hand again. This small gesture showed the truth behind their fancy clothes and crowns. They were partners facing this big day together. The horses pulled the carriage slowly through the streets. People threw flowers in their path. The sun made Kate's dress sparkle as if it had tiny stars sewn into it. "Look at how their outfits catch the light," said one TV host. "Her crown and his medals shine in the same way. Even the sun seems to know they are a team." The carriage moved toward Buckingham Palace, where more events waited for them. Kate and William waved to the crowds on both sides of the street. Their faces showed joy, but also the serious understanding of their duties. The fifth part of their special day was going perfectly. Their journey through London showed everyone who watched that this was a royal couple who stood together in unity and strength. Their matching clothes told this story without words, but the small touches and looks they shared told an even deeper story, one of true partnership. The golden carriage arrived at Buckingham Palace. The big iron gates opened wide to let Kate and William enter. Inside the palace grounds, more guards stood at attention. Their red coats made a bright line along the path. Kate looked out of the carriage window at the famous palace. This was not just a building. It was a symbol of hundreds of years of history. And today, she and William were adding their own chapter to that long story. "We are almost there," William said, giving her hand a small squeeze. The carriage stopped at the palace doors. Helpers rushed to open the door. William stepped out first, then turned to help Kate. Her white dress had stayed perfect during the ride. Not a single fold was out of place. Palace workers lined the hall inside. They bowed as Kate and William walked past. The couple walked side by side down the long hall with red carpet. Paintings of kings and queens from long ago hung on the walls. It was as if all the past royals were watching them. "There is still the balcony appearance," said a palace worker quietly to Kate. "The crowds are waiting." Kate nodded. She and William had been told about this important part of the day. They would stand on the famous balcony and wave to the crowds. This moment would be seen by millions of people on TV. But first, they had a few minutes to rest. A small room had been made ready for them. Inside, helpers waited to make sure they looked perfect for the balcony appearance. "Your dress is still wonderful," said one helper to Kate. "Not a single jewel has fallen off." Kate smiled. The dress had been made with great care. Each small jewel had been sewn on by hand. The blue thread that matched William's uniform had been chosen from hundreds of samples to get exactly the right shade. While Kate's dress was checked, William stood before a mirror. A helper fixed his medals and made sure his uniform was still perfect. The blue sash across his chest was the exact same color as the blue in Kate's dress and crown. "It is time," said the palace worker at the door. "The people are calling for you." Kate and William looked at each other. This was one of the biggest moments of the day. They would step onto the balcony and show themselves to the huge crowd waiting below. William offered his arm to Kate again. "Shall we?" Kate placed her hand on his arm. "Let's go meet them." They walked through more grand rooms to reach the balcony doors. The sound of the crowd outside grew louder with each step. Thousands of people had filled the street in front of the palace. They were waving flags and calling for the royal couple. A palace worker opened the glass doors. Bright sunlight and the roar of the crowd rushed in. Kate took a deep breath. William stood tall beside her. Together, they stepped onto the balcony. The crowd below broke into wild cheers. The noise was so loud Kate could feel it in her chest. Thousands of faces looked up at them. Thousands of hands waved flags. News helicopters flew overhead to capture this moment for TV viewers. Kate and William stood side by side in the center of the balcony. The sun made Kate's white dress glow like snow. William's uniform looked rich and royal against the white stone of the palace. They raised their hands to wave at the same time. Again, they moved as one team. The blue of William's sash and the blue details in Kate's outfit could be seen even from far away. These matching colors told everyone the same story: unity and strength. "Kiss, kiss," called the crowd below. This was a tradition at royal balcony appearances. William turned to Kate with a smile. He leaned down and gave her a small kiss. The crowd cheered even louder. Cameras flashed like stars as this perfect moment was captured. The sun broke through a cloud at that exact moment. It made Kate's crown and William's medals shine with golden light. Later, many people would say it looked like heaven itself was blessing the royal couple. "Look at them," said an old man in the crowd to his grandson. "That is what royal unity looks like." And he was right. Standing on that famous balcony, Kate and William showed everyone what they stood for. Their matching clothes spoke of careful planning and deep meaning. But the way they stood together, the small looks they shared, spoke of something more important: true partnership. Evening came to London. The sky turned pink and gold as the sun began to set. Inside Buckingham Palace, a grand dinner was being prepared. This royal banquet would be the last big event of the special day. Kate had changed into her second outfit of the day. She now wore a beautiful blue dress that matched the color of William's uniform sash. Small white diamonds were sewn all over the dress, making it sparkle when she moved. Her crown had been replaced with a smaller tiara that matched her new dress. William still wore his royal uniform, but his helpers had added a white decoration to match Kate's new dress. Once again, their outfits were planned to show they were a team. The blue and white colors they both wore had special meaning in royal history. "You look beautiful," William said when he saw Kate in her new dress. "The blue is perfect." Kate smiled. "We match again," she said, touching the blue sash on his uniform. The palace dining room was huge. A long table ran down the middle. It was covered with white cloth and set with gold plates. Flowers in blue and white colors matched Kate and William's outfits. Even the smallest details were planned to tell the same story of unity and strength. Important guests from all over the world waited in the dining room. Kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers stood as Kate and William entered. The women wore fancy dresses. The men wore suits or uniforms, but all eyes were on the royal couple. "They look even more royal now, if that is possible," whispered one guest to another. Kate and William walked to their seats at the head of the table. They moved together with the same steps, as if they had practiced many times. When they reached their chairs, William pulled out Kate's chair for her before taking his own seat. "Such a gentleman," said an old queen from another country. "And look how their outfits complement each other." Servers brought in the first course of the meal. The plates were works of art, with food arranged to look like pictures. Kate and William had helped choose the menu months ago. They had picked foods that came from all parts of their country, showing they cared about all regions. As they ate, William leaned over to speak quietly to Kate several times. They shared small smiles that showed their connection. People watching saw not just a royal couple in matching clothes, but two people who truly cared for each other. "Their unity is not just in how they dress," said one wise old diplomat. "It is in how they act together." When the main course was served, Kate noticed that William's sash had a small wrinkle. Without drawing attention, she reached over and smoothed it for him. He gave her a thankful smile. This small act of care did not go unnoticed by the guests. The palace windows showed the night sky now. Stars twinkled outside. Inside, crystal lights hung from the ceiling, making the room glow like magic. The lights caught the diamonds on Kate's dress and made them shine like small stars. After the meal, music began to play. It was time for the first dance. William stood and offered his hand to Kate. She took it with a smile, and he led her to the center of the room. The other guests moved back to make space for them. "Watch how they move together," said one fashion expert to another. "Even in dance, they are perfectly matched." The music started slow and beautiful. William placed his hand on Kate's waist. Her blue dress moved like water as they began to dance. The white diamonds on her dress sparkled under the lights. William's uniform looked rich and royal next to her. They danced with steps they had practiced for weeks. Their movements were smooth and perfect. But what made the dance special was not the steps. It was the way they looked at each other, the small smile they shared, the way they moved as one. Other guests watched with smiles. Many took pictures with their phones. This was a moment worth remembering. The royal couple, dressed in matching blue and white, dancing as if they were the only people in the room. "Their clothes may be royal," said one guest, "but their love is very human." When the dance ended, William bowed to Kate. She curtsied in return. The guests clapped and cheered. It was a perfect end to a perfect dance. As William led Kate back to their seats, he whispered something that made her laugh. In that moment, they were not just royal figures in fancy clothes. They were simply a husband and wife who had shared a special day together. The next morning, Kate and William sat in a quiet room in the palace. They drank tea and looked at newspapers from around the world. Every front page showed pictures of them from yesterday. Their coronation looks had captured the attention of people everywhere. "Look at this one," William said, holding up a newspaper from America. The headline read, "Royal Unity Shines Through in Perfect Matching Outfits." Kate smiled as she looked at more papers. One from Japan showed a close-up of their matching blue details. Another from Australia focused on how Kate's dress complemented William's uniform. "The world noticed what we wanted them to see," Kate said softly. And she was right. Fashion experts on morning TV shows talked about nothing else. They pointed out how the blue in William's sash matched the blue in Kate's crown and dress. They showed pictures of the couple side by side, noting how even their posture and movements matched. "This was not just about looking good," said one famous fashion expert on TV. "Their outfits told a story of unity and strength. Every color, every pattern had meaning." Social media was full of pictures from the day before. People shared their favorite moments: the carriage ride, the church ceremony, the balcony appearance, the first dance. In every picture, Kate and William's matching outfits stood out. One picture became the most popular of all. It showed the moment on the balcony when William whispered to Kate and made her smile. The sun had caught the blue in both their outfits, making it shine. This picture was shared millions of times online. "Royal Fashion with Purpose" was the title of an article in a famous fashion magazine. The writer explained how Kate and William had worked with designers for months to create their looks. Everything from the shade of blue to the type of fabric had been carefully chosen. They did not just want to look royal, the article said. They wanted their appearance to send a message to the world. The palace phone rang all morning. Leaders from other countries called to say how impressed they were. Many mentioned the perfect coordination of the royal couple's outfits. Some even asked for the names of their designers. Television shows played video clips from the day before. They showed Kate fixing William's sash at dinner, and William helping Kate with her crown in the church. These small moments of care between them had not gone unnoticed. "Their clothes spoke of unity," said one TV host, but their actions proved it was real. Children around the country drew pictures of Kate and William in their royal outfits. Schools held special lessons about the meaning behind royal clothes. Teachers explained how colors and designs could tell stories without words. In one school, a little girl raised her hand. "I liked how they matched," she said. "It shows they are best friends." The palace staff gathered to look at a special album of photos from the day before. The head staff member pointed to a picture of Kate and William leaving the church. "See how the sun hits both their outfits in the same way," he said. It was like even nature knew they were a perfect match. Fashion designers around the world started working on new clothes inspired by Kate and William's look. Blue and white became the most popular colors for formal wear. Couples getting married asked for outfits that complemented each other like the royal couples had. By afternoon, Kate and William had to prepare for more royal duties. As they got ready, their helpers brought out clothes for the next day. Once again, the outfits were carefully made to complement each other. "The world is watching us even more closely now," William said as he looked at the new clothes. Kate nodded. "Then we will keep showing them what unity looks like." They understood that their coronation look had done more than just impress people. It had sent a powerful message about the kind of leaders they would be. Their matching outfits had shown that they faced their duties as true partners, supporting each other every step of the way. A staff member knocked on the door. "Your Royal Highnesses," she said, "the Prime Minister has arrived to meet with you." Kate and William stood together, ready to begin their royal work. Their coronation day was over, but the message of their carefully planned outfits would continue. In the way they dressed, they would keep showing the world their unity and royal strength. 1 year had passed since the coronation day. Kate and William sat in the garden of their country home. The sun was warm on their faces as they looked through a special book. It was filled with pictures from their big day. "It feels like yesterday," Kate said, touching a picture of them on the balcony. In the photo, their matching blue outfits caught the sunlight perfectly. William nodded. "And look how much has changed since then." He was right. The year since their coronation had been full of change. Kate and William had traveled to many countries. They had met with world leaders. They had started new projects to help people. And through it all, they had kept the promise they made with their coronation look: to show unity and strength. Every time they appeared in public, people noticed how their clothes still complemented each other. If Kate wore blue, William would have a blue tie or shirt. If William wore a gray suit, Kate would wear a gray dress or coat. This was not by chance. It was their way of showing they were still a team. "Remember what the old queen told us?" William asked as they turned a page in the book. Kate smiled. She said our unity would be our greatest strength. The old queen had been right. In the year since the coronation, Kate and William had faced many challenges. There had been hard times when they needed to make tough choices, but they had faced everything together. Their matching clothes had become a symbol that people recognized around the world. A famous picture hung in their home office. It showed them on Coronation Day, standing side by side in their perfect outfits. This picture had become the most shared royal image in history. People called it the Unity Portrait. "The designers want to know what colors we want for the 5-year celebration," Kate said, showing William a letter. William thought for a moment. "Perhaps green this time, for growth and new beginnings." Kate nodded. "Green would be perfect. It shows how we have grown into our roles." In the year since the coronation, fashion had changed because of them. Couples around the world now chose outfits that complemented each other. Designers created clothes meant to be worn as pairs. Kate and William had started a trend that was about more than just fashion. It was about showing partnership and unity. Their children had joined them on many royal trips. The young princes and princess now wore clothes that matched their parents in small ways. A blue ribbon in their daughter's hair would match Kate's blue dress and William's blue tie. These small details did not go unnoticed by the public. "They are raising the next generation to understand unity," one newspaper had written. As evening came, Kate and William went inside their home. A TV was on in the corner. A show about fashion history was playing. The host was talking about their coronation outfits. "These will go down in history as the most meaningful royal clothes ever worn," the host said. "Not just because they looked beautiful, but because they sent such a clear message." William turned to Kate with a smile. "They still talk about it a year later." "Because it was never just about the clothes," Kate said. "It was about what they stood for." And she was right. Their coronation look had been the beginning of a new royal era. An era where the king and queen showed their strength through unity. Where their clothes told a story of partnership and shared purpose. Later that night, their helpers laid out clothes for an event the next day. As always, the outfits complemented each other perfectly. Kate's dress and William's suit were different, but had matching colors and styles. This was now expected of them. People would be disappointed if they did not match. "Another day of showing the world what we stand for," William said as he looked at the clothes. Kate took his hand. Together, just like always. As they got ready for bed, the famous coronation picture washed over them from the wall. In it, they stood side by side, their clothes perfectly matched, their faces full of hope for the future. 1 year later, that hope had grown stronger. Their unity had become their legacy. And it had all started with a coronation look that spoke of unity and royal strength.